Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Grounded Youth Online. Hope y'all are having an awesome week. And again, this week we're still going through the book of Genesis. We're kind of just doing an overview of the Old Testament, just so that we can have a better understanding of what Jesus did, why he came and did what he did. So we're still talking about Abraham. And there's a lot to discuss about Abraham. Like I said, Abraham is known for his faith. But there's a lot of just lessons that we can learn, that we can apply just by looking at Abraham's relationship with God. There's a lot of lessons we can learn from him and also apply that to our life. So we're still looking at that. We're still, like I said, we're still just kind of looking at an overview of Abraham's life and just his relationship with God. So if you have your Bibles with you, we're going to be in Genesis in chapter 21. So again, we're in Genesis chapter 21. And this is going to be, just the first part here, start with verse 1. It says, "And the Lord visited Sarah as he had said, and the Lord did to Sarah as he had promised. And Sarah conceived and bore Abraham a son in his old age, at the time of which God had spoken to him. Abraham called the name of the son who was born to him, whom Sarah bore, Isaac. And Abraham circumcised his son Isaac when he was 8 days old, as God commanded him. Abraham was 100 years old when his son Isaac was born to him. And Sarah said, 'God has made laughter for me, for everyone who hears will laugh over me.' And she said, 'Who would have said to Abraham that Sarah would nurse children? Yet I have borne him a son in his old age.'" So just some background information of kind of how we got to where we are right now with the birth of Isaac. Isaac actually was not Abraham's firstborn. If we remember, we'll go back a couple chapters we talked about a couple weeks ago. Abraham was worried that he was becoming an older man. He was getting older, and he was getting worried. He had prayed to God, and he was like, I don't have a son right now. And God promised him that I'm still gonna make you a great nation, and and he still promised Abraham, like, you're still gonna have a son. And some time had, kind of continued to go by, and Abraham and Sarah pretty much got impatient. And, Sarah didn't really think, she was older. She didn't really think that she even had the ability to be able to carry a child or have a child. And so what they did was they let Abraham have a child with their maidservant, whose name was Hagar. And so Abraham's actual firstborn, his name was Ishmael. So again, God kind of comes to Abraham and Sarah and, pretty much iterated, like, you two are still going to have a son. Sarah's still going to have a son. And both of them pretty much laughed at God. Because, like I said, they're older. It was just one of those, they just didn't see how at this point in their life, how they were going to be able to do it. Both of them were right at 100 years old. So, you can imagine, like I said, a lot of time's gone by. And to them, just the whole ship of having any more kids that had sailed. But as we just read, Sarah ended up having a son. Abraham had a son by Sarah, his wife, and they named him Isaac. And the biggest thing, and really just what I want to point out to you guys this evening, just the one word I want to encourage you guys, that we don't really like this word a whole lot, but it's patience. That's a hard word for a lot of people. It's a hard word for me. I can be very impatient at times, but the fact is that God promised Abraham and Sarah that you were going to have a son. And both of them doubted. Like I said, we talked about Abraham's a great man of faith, but Abraham also had his moments where he doubted God. And impatience was kind of the leading factor in this time that he doubted God. So they got impatient. They had another son that, God didn't necessarily intend. And the promise still, the covenant that God made with Abraham, it carried through Isaac. It didn't carry through Ishmael, it carried through Isaac. And this created problems down the road because, Ishmael went on to become a great nation himself. And that nation just, it was a lot of hostility, a lot of hatred there between Ishmael's descendants and Abraham's descendants, because the promise went to Isaac as God had told them it was going to go, and not the firstborn that was Ishmael. So like I said, we're talking about patience, and waiting on God. You may be in a situation right now where you're just waiting. I'm currently in a situation right now where I'm just waiting on a direction of God. And it can be frustrating at times. It can be scary at times because we like the drive-through service. We like to pray to God like you're in McDonald's, and it gets you get your food in just a couple of minutes. And we like to pray to God and get an answer like right then and there. We like to pray to God and be able to get out of a bad situation right then and there. We're going through a trial, we're going through a storm, and we want to get out like right now. And a lot of the times we just have to be patient and just let God work and let God move, because God still has a plan. And the thing about God is He is always on time, never late. He might be late to our standards because, like I said, we're impatient people. But God is not late. God is always faithful. When He promises something, He promised Abraham and Sarah, you're going to have a son, and they got impatient. And it really caused some problems down the line. Like I said, it ended up being two nations were really against each other. But we should be patient. I just want to encourage you guys with that, to be patient. I don't know, if you're in a situation right now where you're just waiting, or maybe you're just really going through it right now. You're really going through a storm, and you've had a bad week, you've had a bad month, you've had a bad year, and it's just, man, like, when is God going to get me out of this? I've been there too. And like I said, I can tell you, it's not as much fun going through it. It's not fun being in that waiting period. But when God comes through, because He's on time, it's going to be so worth the wait. 2014, just to kind of give you guys a little personal story of just some things that I've been through. 2014, I started praying for something. And I prayed and I prayed and I prayed, and I went through church service after church service, after youth conference, after camp, after youth conference, after church service, and I prayed and I prayed and I prayed. And 6 years go by, and God still hasn't answered my prayer that I had just a desire, I had something I wanted God to come through for me. 6 years goes by, and nothing happens. I really almost got to the point where I really didn't know that God was ever really going to answer me or come through in the way, at times it was discouraging, it was disheartening. I mean, it was frustrating. And just one day, just up and out of the blue, completely out of nowhere, 2020, like I said, I started praying for this in 2014, 6 years later, 2020, just completely out of the blue, God comes through and answers that prayer for me in the most unique, most personal way that God could have done it for me. And it was so perfect. And it was so worth the wait for 6 years. If I had to do it all over again, and wait the 6 years, it would be so worth the wait to watch God answer that in the way that He did. It was one of the sweetest moments of my entire life and of my entire Christian walk. It was, like I said, it was definitely worth the 6 years. So if you're in a waiting period, I want to encourage you just to be patient and to trust God and to hold on to God and hold on to just trust His timing, because He's going to come through, and it's going to be perfect. I promise it's going to be perfect. Don't be like Abraham and Sarah did with their maidservant Hagar. Don't try to just force anything, and don't try to just take matters into your own hands and try to make things happen, because we end up making a mess out of it. We're humans. We're sinful. We end up making a bigger mess. Okay? So that's my encouragement to you guys. This week's video lesson is just, you're in a season of waiting. Just wait on God. Don't force the issue. Don't make a bigger mess out of it. Just wait on Him. He's going to come through for you. I can promise you that. I love you guys.